to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the longest-running Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
We're always in control, and when you say Miami, you're talking to Red Bull. 'Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Wednesday, November the 5th. I am your host, Michael Leva, joined as always by Tom Ernestly. Tom, how are you on this Wednesday?
I'm good. We're not, my house isn't blowing away from all these vicious winds that are happening right now.
I know, it's been high winds up here too.
It's crazy.
Since Friday, really. It really started Halloween night, and it hasn't stopped for like 4 or 5 days. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's going to continue through the night, and I don't know. We're in snow country. We got snow in the forecast on Monday, so I'll take 50 degrees and windy over what we're about to get next week. Yeah,
I know. It's wild up here with the weather, and I saw it on for the Miami game versus the Bills, which we'll obviously talk about later in the show. It's supposed to be like 88. It's supposed to be like perfect weather on Sunday for the Bills, and their asshole fans will go down there and complain it's too hot. So that's all. It's like you can't win with this weather stuff. No matter where anyone is, someone's always complaining about the weather, which is it's kind of funny. But we got a lot to talk about here on the show tonight, as we are the day after the trade deadline. Pretty much a quiet one for the Dolphins, which is talk about. We got some news about what and why Miami didn't make moves. We're going to talk about. We'll talk about the Bills game and everything else. We got a ton of news. But before we get to that, as always, a shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Caneswear. Everyone, be sure to go to caneswear.com for the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. If you're in South Florida, swing by their shop at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. Tell them Mike from Dolphins Talk sent you. Maybe they'll give you a little discount. They got the best stuff when it comes to Miami Dolphins. Hats, hoodies, jerseys, shirts, something for the home, something for the office. Christmas is coming up. Hanukkah's coming up. You need a gift. Go to caneswear.com. Also, a shout out to everyone watching live at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page, run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page. Also, Dolphins Talk Extra. If you want more content from us, some of it's not about the Dolphins, some of it is. And we give away. And we have a lot of prizes which we give away, which I got to run a contest soon to give away. We give autograph aways of like Landry and Wake, and it's like really cool prizes. And we give away autographed jerseys. I give away like a Mercury Morris autographed jersey earlier this year. And we have a private message board, which is less toxic than social media. You can actually talk like a normal person and not get screamed at. Go to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk, $3 a month. Check it out. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. And super chats are open, so check that out as well. And if you leave us a super chat, thank you. And we will make sure to read it on the air and give you priority at some point during the show. All right, let's get to some of the news right off the bat. First, we'll do the news, then we'll get into the trade deadline stuff. News: James Daniels, Austin Jackson, Liam Eichenberg, Andrew Meyer, Jason Sanders will not return from IR this week. It's so funny when all these guys, except for Liam, because he went in August. But for all the rest, when they went on IR, it was like 4 weeks. They're going to be back. Don't worry. Well, now it's week 10. And it's almost getting to the point of comedy where just say they're out for the year, because we're 2-7. Are we really going to bring any of these guys back? And if we do, what's the bleeping point? But Mike's got to answer the question every week, and he answered today. James Daniels, Austin Jackson, Liam, Andrew Meyer, Jason Sanders will not be back. Tom, you like to put down a few bucks and make a bet. Will we see any of these guys back in the month of November? What say you?
Any of them? Yes.
Any of them? One of them?
I think at least one will be back. And my assumption at this point would be that it would be Andrew Meyer over anybody else. At this point, Jason Sanders can sit the rest of the year out. Kicker's been fine. It's not an issue. obviously, right tackle, a major issue, but with Austin Jackson's injury history, you may want him healthy to start next year. And then James Daniels, who's going to be here next year because he signed that 3-year contract, you would probably want him healthy too. So sit those guys, bring back Andrew Meyer, let him get some reps in because maybe he can be the top backup next year for the Dolphins at a multitude of positions.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I'm less optimistic anyone's coming back at this point. There's that. Chop Robinson is still in the early stages of concussion protocol. It's been almost a week. He's still in the early stages, which is a little surprising, I guess. But odds of him playing on Sunday seem very slim at this point. The Miami Dolphins signed an edge rusher because with Chop Robinson probably out at least 1 week, and with Jalen Phillips no longer here, so they signed Andre Carter II off the Lions practice squad. He went to Army. He's played in about 15 NFL games. He's bounced around a bit. He played in those 15 games total over a few years here with the Raiders and Vikings. He's had 3 total tackles, half a sack. So there's really not much going on. They're just kind of a warm body. And cornerback Rasul Douglas, he didn't practice. He's on the injury report with a foot and ankle injury. We'll see if he's ready to go on Sunday or not. So Rasul Douglas is there. All right. Let's get into some trade deadline stuff. So there's a lot of kind of what didn't happen, which is kind of floating out there, but we're going to sort of consolidate for you if you've missed any of this because it's on various outlets and stuff. First off, it came out tonight, actually, from NFL insider Jordan Schultz, that the Miami Dolphins received calls on Zach Sealer, but they wouldn't entertain a deal unless it involved a high day 2 pick, which is rounds 2 and 3. So I don't know what teams were offering stuff on Sealer, but they were getting calls on him. And again, as I said throughout this whole process, for the right offer, I'll trade anybody. But I would agree it'd have to probably be a pick in round 2 if you want someone like Zach Sealer. I'm not going to give him away for a pick at like the end of round 3 or anything like we did with Jalen because he is under contract. He is a very good player. He's got no help around him this year. So what are your thoughts on that, Tom?
Yeah, I'm not surprised teams were calling for Zach Sealer. Obviously, again, his contract is decent, right? And he's got some pedigree. He's a good football player. We know that. And the fact that Dolphins just didn't give him away is a good thing, right? You want to have at least some pillars on this team as they begin to transition into a rebuild. And Zach Sealer is the type of guy that you want to have in the building because he's a hardworking football player and does the right things. So that's a guy you want to keep around. So I'm glad they didn't do anything with him unless they blew the Dolphins away with an offer, like you said, a high day 2 pick early to mid round 2, early to mid round 3. Then at that point, I'd really consider it. But obviously the Dolphins stuck to their number in regards to what they wanted to get back for Zach Sealer, and he's here to stay.
Yeah, and just before we move on, just to give everyone a heads up, Tom's audio tonight is a little bit choppy, probably because of the storms, like we said at the top of the show. So if he goes in and out a little bit and there's a small pause, that's why. Like I said, the winds are very high by where he is, so that is affecting some of his audio, but it's not that bad, but just so people know. Okay. So Mike McDaniel at his media session today said that on Tuesday when they were fielding offers, it was himself, Mike McDaniel, Champ Kelly, and Brandon Shore handled all the offers. And they were involved on what, every offer was, saying yes or no, which was all no to all of them. And there's that. He said that Miami received calls on Chubb and Waddle, but teams didn't meet the high asking price for either. That's why they didn't trade either. And I think for Waddle, most of us understand that it was a high asking price, as it should be. The Chubb one, we're going to talk about that in a second. That just drives me nuts. There's an ESPN article, though, that gives a lot more insight on, I'd say, the past 3 or 4 days here since Greer's been fired, with Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano. And I want to read just a little bit of it, and then we can comment on this, Tom. Dan Graziano said he heard that the Miami Dolphins got a lot of calls on Jalen Waddle, along with many other players, but Miami told teams it would take a first-round pick to get Waddle, which no team was willing to give up. It feels like the Miami Dolphins, and this is from Graziano, it feels like the Miami Dolphins are in a kind of awkward in-between phase. Firing Greer, who's been with the team for a quarter century, and he had apprenticed under the previous 3 GMs. Felt like ownership is signaling for a new vision and organizational philosophy in firing Greer. We don't know whether Miami will also move on from head coach or even the starting quarterback in the offseason. I thought they'd make more moves to accumulate more draft capital as they pivot to whatever they decide is their future. Instead, only Jalen Phillips was dealt, and Miami seems as if they're still trying to make something out of their 2-7 season while chasing the 7-2 Patriots and 6-2 Bills. Unlike the Cincinnati Bengals, the Finns don't have a reason to feel as if they can win the AFC East. And I wonder if they will regret not making more moves. I'll answer that yes. Fowler said this: Waddle's situation was very compelling. I was told that the Broncos were among the teams that explored him as an elite wide receiver at 26 with a reasonable contract. Pittsburgh and the Giants are 2 other teams that had interest in him as well, if not for the steep asking price. This is the part that drives me nuts. Some teams had a tough time trying to get a read on Miami's intentions at the trade deadline, which is understandable 4 days removed from Chris Greer's firing. This is what drives me nuts. Why was Mike McDaniel in on any of these talks, on any of these trades? Of course he's going to say no. He wants to keep good players to try and save his job, which, I say about the Dolphins, there's times they could mess up a one-card parade, and it sounds like they did yesterday. There is 0.0% chance that Bradley Chubb will be on this team next year. He is 30, 3 ACLs, and an ankle surgery to boot. He will count $31 million against the cap next year, and the following year, another $31 million. And some fans will maybe they'll restructure him. He don't want to be restructured. You think he wants to be a part of this mess? He is dying to get out of here and get to a good team. That's number one. And number two, the Dolphins are rebuilding. They're not going to restructure an old man. Not that he's that old, but a guy who's had 3 ACL surgeries contract and keep him around. The fact that they were asking for a high pick and they wouldn't settle on like a 5th or a 6th for him, maybe a 7th even, if that was like, just send him away. Because now what he's going to do is he's going to play in whatever young pass rushers they have on the team, Muhammad Kamara or whoever else. I don't even know if he's, they're not going to be able to get on the field in meaningless games. And we're going to be playing Bradley Chubb, and now he's going to be gone next year. And now you're not going to get a draft pick for him. Why was Mike McDaniel involved in any of this? I have an answer: because he ain't losing his job. And I don't care what anyone tells me, he's staying. I don't think the outcomes of these games matter. They want him here. They should have fired him after the game against Cleveland. They should have fired him after the Ravens game. The fact he survived both lets me know that this owner is going to do a half measure again and not do this right. We're going to fire the GM, and we're going to force the head coach on someone, and we're going to get a crappy GM. And Mike McDaniel should have been nowhere near the telephones yesterday. Leave it up to everyone else. This is bullshit. I'm done. Yeah, fire everyone. They're not.
They're not doing it. If you're obviously people that are watching can see my sign again. I kept it. Fire everyone. I don't understand the logic behind Stephen Ross wanting to keep Mike McDaniel. And, as much as I love this football team, I am begging. Look, Mike, you said a prayer last week and it worked with Chris Greer. I'm going to put my hands together and I'm going to pray to the football gods right now that Daddy Allen, Josh Allen, absolutely trounces the Miami Dolphins one more time and have Stephen Ross sit in his little box and see an entire stadium filled with red, white, and blue of Buffalo Bills fans and watching the aqua and orange jerseys leaving the stadium in the third quarter when Buffalo's up 35-3. and the boo birds and the signs and everything that has been happening at Hard Rock Stadium this year with the Miami Dolphins. If he doesn't get the clue, and he clearly doesn't, it needs to take them to continue to get their ass whipped at home, which they could on Sunday, and then they have to travel overseas to Spain to play Washington, who, yes, doesn't look very good, will not have their starting quarterback, but if they get their ass whooped on a international stage with the bye week looming, he may not have a choice. But guess what? I agree with you, Mike. He does have a choice. That son of a bitch is going to keep Mike McDaniel here next year, which is going to chase away any good and logical choices for general manager of this football team. And here we are going to be floundering once again in 2026 with all these ace bandages all over the roster. Oh, we're going to be competitive. You don't have cap space. You have a ton of draft capital, but at the end of the day, you're not going to have the right person in place to coach the football team, and you're certainly not going to have the best hire you can find to run the front office and reshape the Miami Dolphins. This is going to be a shit show continuing in 2026. Thanks for having Mike McDaniel on the phone calls.
Yeah, I mean, they've already been passed by the Patriots, and with everything that the Jets did yesterday, if they don't fire McDaniel, they're going to get passed by the Jets. And you can say, oh, the Jets always get it wrong. A, so do we. And B, you're bound to get it right once in a while. And plus, the new GM they got last year, look at his draft last year. Looks pretty dang good. Looks way better than ours. Like, they got some players in that draft. Membo is a pretty good right tackle. Mason Taylor is a pretty good tight end. They got two good starters. We got Grant and Jonas Avenea, who are like the lowest rated PFF guys in the entire league. Like, they're going to get passed by the Jets. And if they keep McDaniel, they just are. Like, the handwriting's on the wall here. It's clear as day. And I understand they don't want to trade Waddle. No one's arguing that. Don't trade Waddle. Who cares? Keep him. They should keep him. But the Chubb one, and it really, and here's the deal. It's not about the pick. Okay, I don't care about a 6th round pick or a 5th round pick. It's not about the pick. That's what people don't understand. Like, why are you getting all worked up about a late round pick? It's not about the pick. It's the mindset that these people don't understand what the hell they're doing. Okay, that I don't care about the pick. I care about the fact that they are so deep in the bubble that they don't see reality, or they're living in a world where, yeah, we're 2-7, but not really. No, you're really 2-7 because you're really, really bad. And your head coach is really, really bad at his job, like extremely bad at his job. And you're going to sit here and make excuses for him. You're going to sit there and make, and not you. I mean, the owner and the people in charge are going to sit there and make excuses for this guy that he should be back based on what? Because the locker room's a bunch of rookies who don't know any better and a bunch of old guys on 1-year deals who just can't wait to get out of here. You know, if this was a team filled with guys in their prime in the middle of long-term deals like Van Ginkel and Wilkins and Hunt like they should be, trust me, they would have checked out on this guy a long time ago. But we don't have that. We got young rookies who aren't going to say boo because they're rookies. And we got a bunch of old men who are just waiting for the end of the year so they can go on to their next team. Those guys aren't going to quit because that's not how they're wired. So this is fool's gold. Again, people can, when he's let go, then I'll believe it. After what I've seen, the fact he wasn't fired on Friday was a joke. The fact that, he's involved in the trade deadline stuff is a bigger joke. He should not have a voice in who's on this team now or beyond this year, and he shouldn't have had a say in any possible draft capital beyond this year. It's criminal. It's absolutely criminal that he's going to be here. And his logic, well, if we're keeping Tua, you might as well keep Mike, is the dumbest bleeping logic I've ever heard in my life. If we're keeping Tua, it's because we have to because of a contract. You don't have to keep Mike. The next head coach can tell Tua, put on a baseball cap, hold a clipboard. You're my number 2 next year. We're going to find someone else to start. And then you just wait out 1 year of him. I mean, Mike McDaniel's situation is totally different on every level and has nothing to do with the quarterback. So that logic for people who want to push that with me, I just ignore that. But again, it's not about the pick. I don't care about the pick. It's about the logic behind the thought process of not trading him for a pick, which is mind-numbingly stupid.
100%. Because you're not going to get anything when he gets cut. You don't get You don't get compensation picks for guys that you cut off your roster. And Bradley Chubb shouldn't be on this team at this point. We should have wished him well in his endeavors, collected a 6th, 7th round draft pick. I don't give a shit if it was 2027
It's not about the
draft
pick.
pick.
Yeah.
Just say it's not about it. It's the principle that they think they can try to salvage anything at 2-7. You're not salvaging anything.
There's nothing to salvage.
The only thing you're trying to salvage, that's the best term they could use. They're looking to salvage the season at 2-7. No.
No, they're looking for a reason not to fire the head coach.
Salvaging 2-7. There is no team that's going to come back from 2-7. They're not winning 8 games in a row. I understand what you mean by salvage.
Well, I know exactly what you mean. They're hoping they can get to like 6 wins or 7 wins, so then they can turn around to the fan base at the end of the year and say, we're keeping Mike the end of the year strong. When we all know in reality, end of the year strong means a win over a team like the Saints who quit, a win over a team like the Jets who waved the white flag and quit yesterday, a win over a team like Washington who doesn't have a quarterback like Atlanta. That's a good win. No, it's not. You're playing Marcus Mariota. That ain't going to be a good win if we win that game. Now you're at 3. Count the 2 we got. You're at 5. Maybe week 18 versus the Patriots, they got everything locked up for a wild card, or they win the East and they got a game next week. They're going to rest their starters. So you beat, the Patriots backups. Now you're at 6, and they're going to stand there with a straight face and go, we were 1-5. And then Mike McDaniel, he finished strong, got to 6 wins. Mike's staying. He didn't finish strong. He beat up on teams that quit or who weren't trying. That's what they're doing. They went all in to save this guy's job, because if they didn't have Chubb, or if they didn't have Minka, or if they didn't have Judon, then they would lose to those teams, or they might win 1 or 2 but lose 1 or 2. Hold on to Minka, hold on to Chubb, hold on to these guys means they're probably going to win those games, because as bad as we've been, and we've been bad, the Saints and Jets are like not even viable NFL teams right now. Like, we're somewhat viable on some level. Watch the game versus Atlanta. You play a bad quarterback against us, we'll actually find a way to show up and win. The Saints and Jets, they're not even trying, folks. They're not even trying. And then Washington with Marcus Mariota is going to be a game just like Atlanta. We're like, we can't move the ball. You're going to win. Sorry. And it's like, see, they're playing hard for Mike. No, they're not. No, they're not.
Fool's optics, man.
That's all it is. They're just it's
garbage. It's all
garbage. It's garbage. It's absolutely garbage. All right. Well, we got to talk about the game this week. We got a game versus Atlanta this week. Oh, hold on, Tom. Someone's at the door. I'm so sorry. Oh, boy. Look who it is. I thought he'd show up. After what I said after the Ravens game on Thursday, said a little prayer. I thought this guy might show up. It's our old friend Jesus.
Hi, Mike. Well, I heard your prayer last week, and I stepped in. Chris Greer is fired. I made that happen. You're welcome. I know you have a large audience on the DolphinsTalk podcast, but please tell your fellow Dolphins fans that they are a nerdy bunch. You guys want Mike McDaniel gone as well? And to bring back the throwback logo? Okay, well, how many miracles do you want me to do for the Dolphins? Have you forgotten 1972? I haven't. It's easier turning water into wine than keeping Dolphins fans happy these days. I got a full plate. I'm tired. Dolphins fans, stop flooding my prayer inbox. I will see what I can do about all this, but no promises. Amen.
Our old friend Jesus popping back in. He likes to pop in a couple times a year for us. But, look, we got to give him credit. He did help us out. Or he helped me out there with my prayer last week. And that Chris Greer is gone. But I don't know. It seems like he's pretty fed up with Dolphins fans. I don't know if our future prayers are going to keep working here, Tom.
Probably not. It's just kind of like in Family Guy with Spider-Man. You only get one.
Okay,
you only get one.
Yeah.
That was the favor. That's it.
Yeah, we're going to hell.
We're going to continue to bow. We're going to continue to bow.
We're going to hell. We're going to hell for this bit, just so you know. But it is funny. He is great. Thanks, Jesus, for finding a few minutes to pop on tonight, as always. All right. All right. Transition here to the Buffalo game. So I'm going to read these numbers. I don't know if they really matter. I mean, they are what you expect. Total offense, the Buffalo Bills, number 1, Miami, 27th. Passing offense, the Buffalo Bills, 14th. Miami, 23rd. This one's great. Rushing offense, the Buffalo Bills, number 1. Miami, 25th. Scoring offense, the Buffalo Bills, number 3. Miami, 26th. Let's just read this for the Bills. 114-1-3. Miami, 27-23, 25-26. Yeah, this game's going to be close. Let's go to the other side of the ball. Total defense, Buffalo 12, Miami 23. Passing defense, Buffalo 2, Miami 10. Rushing defense, Bills 28th, actually not that good. Miami 30th. Scoring defense, Buffalo 9th. Miami tied for 24th. Now look, at this point in the show, I usually say, Tom, what should they do when Miami's got the ball? What should Miami do when the Bills got the ball? Look, let's not insult the intelligence of our audience. It would be a laughable exercise to do that this week. It doesn't freaking matter. I mean, look, we have no Chop Robinson, no Jalen Phillips. We might not have Rasul Douglas. The offensive line is what the offensive line is. It doesn't matter. And I can't pray to Jesus. He's fed up with our prayers. We're flooding his email box.
Yep. Can't talk to Jesus anymore. It's gonna be ugly. You know, as bad as the Dolphins have been this season, the first game against the Bills, you know, well, once again, and I've talked about it to nauseum, but if you know, longtime listeners will know, the Dolphins have shot themselves in the foot against Buffalo 3 out of the last 4 times they've played them. And there was no exception in Buffalo earlier in the season on that Thursday night. Completely shot themselves in the foot to through an interception as they were driving down to tie the football game. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly quick. And if it does get ugly quick, I want the fans to continue to do what they've been doing at the home games, and that is to just boo mercifully. So maybe Stephen Ross can I don't want to say the bad thing here, but you know, those things can pick up some satellite signals from space. He needs to hear the fan base, and he needs to hear it loud and clear during the football game. They've been doing great. Thursday night last week was great. Continue it, but they might be drowned out by all the cheers from the Bills fans that are making their way down to South Florida this week. That stadium is going to be Bills country. I hate saying it, but that is the reality of the situation.
Yeah. I should have thought of this in advance and had some paper bags with our logo put on it and sold them for like 8 cents or 10 cents and sold them to Dolphins fans. That might have been a moneymaker. We would have took all that money and, of course, put it towards charity, not for our own pockets, Of course. Yeah, I mean, it's just, look, Josh Allen is going to go nuts against our defense. I mean, I would say he's probably going to run for 100 yards, but he probably doesn't have to run. So he's probably going to sit there in the pocket all day and just throw ding, 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 go up the field. Like, he's not going to take unnecessary hits this week. He doesn't need to. So I think we'll see a lot of that from Allen. He'll just sit there in the pocket clean. And probably by some point in the third quarter, yeah, he'll be resting on the bench, sitting under the shade there, so the sun's not beating down on him. James Cook, I know he didn't practice today. He had an ankle wrap, but he had this wrap last week for the Chiefs, and he played through it, so I think he'll probably play. And again, if they get up by a ton, they'll probably just rest him most of the second half as well. The Bills wide receivers have sort of struggled this year. I think they'll have a day. I think they're going to have a day this week versus Miami secondary. There's that. And on the other side of the ball, got to hope our quarterback doesn't throw it to the wrong team. He has a tendency of doing that sometimes. Just if he protects the ball, if they try to, like, you can run versus the Bills clearly, but our head coach doesn't like to run. If they fall behind early, he's going to not want to run and throw it every down. This game has the potential of spiraling out of control pretty quick. And what we saw last week from the Bills was a team that sort of struggled at points in September and October. There's a home game versus Saints that They probably should have lost, but they held on to win. But then they lost a few in a row after that. The next thing you know, now they're back on track. And yeah, this could be ugly, Tom.
It's probably going to be. I can't wait for our predictions.
Yeah. Again, in years past, we'd spend so much more time jumping into games, breaking down the games, and all that good stuff. This year, it's tough to do that without just being laughed at, and you guys just like wasting your time, because it's like we know what our team is, and in a week like this, when you're playing a team that's just so stinking good, like I don't care what the records are. If you told me right now, rank the 3 best teams in the NFL, I'm putting the Chiefs, I'm putting the Bills, probably putting Philadelphia. It's like I don't care about the Colts. They're not going to do anything. Here's the deal. If the Colts are a 2 seed in the playoffs or a 3 seed, in round 1, they're hosting the Chiefs. Who's the favorite? It ain't the Colts. It ain't the Colts. So I don't care about the Colts. They can go trade for Sauce Gardner. God love them. And I would have made that move as well for the Colts, because I think they have a window. They're good. They're going to shoot their shot. I don't blame them for that. But when it comes to the playoffs, it's going to be Mahomes, Josh Allen, and if Lamar Jackson gets in, again, I don't care about home playoff games. They can win on the road because they can run the ball. It's going to be those 3 guys, okay? I would put in the Chargers, but their whole offensive line just been shattered. We might have to talk a little bit more about Sean Payton and Knicks and the Broncos, because they look really good too. But they would be the only team from the outside that could sort of crack that window, because it ain't the Colts, it ain't Jacksonville, it ain't Houston, it ain't going to be Pittsburgh or Cincinnati. It's not going to be the Chargers. It's Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, and the Broncos. And those are the only 4 teams that have a shot to possibly get to the Super Bowl. And this week, we're playing one of them. So, yeah, everyone, if you're in the chat, get your predictions up. We're going to get to our predictions now here at the end of the show. So let's get to it. It's now time for Mike and Tom's Fearless Predictions. The Buffalo Bills travel to South Florida to take on the Miami Dolphins at Hard Rock Stadium, a.k.a. Orchard Park South, this week at 1 p.m. on CBS, with Andrew Catalon, Charles Davis, and Jason McCourty on the call. Tom, what say you?
I'll make this as short and sweet as I can. The Bills have beaten off the Dolphins since 2017 consistently. Miami has one win. You heard me. One win in 2022 against the Buffalo Bills by hook or crook. They are going to get their brains beaten by the Buffalo Bills at Hard Rock Stadium, Orchard Park South, like you said, Mike. It's going to be ugly, and I think it's going to get out of hand real quick, especially when the fans turn on the Dolphins. And the fact that if Tua complained on Thursday night about cadence issues with Ravens fans, the Bills fans travel a lot better than Baltimore's. It is going to be deafening in that stadium. And I just hope everyone gets out of this game healthy. But the Bills are going to win. And, I'm going to throw a curveball at you, Mike. I'm going to say that the Bills are going to keep the Dolphins in it just enough with Stephen Ross sitting there watching to make him feel good about Mike McDaniel losing by a whopping 3 scores. I'm going to take the Bills 42, the Miami Dolphins 20.
Wow, you got the Dolphins scoring 20. All right. So
garbage points, Mike. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This is the first game of the post-Chris Grier era, a day Miami Dolphins fans have been hoping and waiting for. The first game without Chris Grier in charge. Hold on a second. Yeah, what? Who? We're playing the Bills? Oh, shit, we're playing the Bills. Okay, Buffalo's 14-1 against Miami in their last 15 matchups. Let me say that again. The Buffalo Bills are 14-1 versus the Miami Dolphins in their last 15 matchups. That's insane. Tua Tagovailoa in 10 games versus the Buffalo Bills. 11 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. That's not good. Period. End of sentence. And he's had some of his worst games of his career versus the Buffalo Bills as well. The Buffalo Bills are flying high, coming off a huge win versus Kansas City at home. And now they head to Miami, and they're going to have another home game. Can the Dolphins defense, without Jalen Phillips and Chop Robinson, step up and slow down the future Hall of Fame quarterback? That's the question. Outside of Justin Fields and Kirk Cousins, Miami has been atrocious this year on defense. Atrocious. And last I looked, Josh Allen ain't Justin Fields, and he ain't Kirk Cousins, and that ain't going to change this week. I expect Josh Allen and the Bills to run roughshod over the Miami Dolphins defense. I expect Tua to, feel pressure to keep up in a shootout, and his little pop gun offense of throwing sideways passes to Achane is going to struggle to move the ball. And my prediction is it's going to be another Buffalo Bills Dolphins beatdown. They'll go to 15-1 in the last 16 matchups. Give me the Bills 38, Miami 10. That's the prediction. And one thing here, real quick. I threw it. Okay, it's off there. If you're thinking each week I'm never going to put on that headgear again, you're wrong. Because as we said, the Miami Dolphins schedule is going to get pretty not easy, but it's going to be soften up here for some teams that literally aren't even trying. They're really tanking the right way. It's an organizational tank where you just get rid of all the good players and say, have at it, boys, try and win. You ain't. We're going to beat some of those teams. So, I'm sure I'll be putting on that headgear a few more times here. But, I'm going 38-10. We got some here in our chat. We got Jordan Murray. He's got 56-21. Wouldn't be the first time the Bills put up a 50. We got Kyle, 42-6. We got Steve, 27-23. That'd be a barn burner. We got Ray, also 42-6. So, not a lot of optimism right now in South Florida with fans of the Dolphins and thinking that they have a chance this week. And I don't know. It's been a long season. And why would you have hope in this team? Why would you have hope in this quarterback? Why would you have hope in this head coach? They have let you down time and time and time and time and time and time again. And we got 42-17. We got 34-6. 6 does seem to be the magic number in some of these games we lose where we only kick 2 field goals, like versus the Bills, like versus the Ravens. It would be kind of poetic if we only scored 6 points again. But, up until this year, what do we do this segment when I did it years past with Ian and stuff? Had a lot of fun. I don't care what the records are. I'm never picking the Bills. And I crack a bunch of jokes. How saying out in Western New York with the Bills, living out there, you got the men are men and the sheep are scared. And I crack a bunch of jokes about Josh Allen and his horse teeth and Ed Oliver being arrested, when he was at the University of Houston. And I crack a bunch of jokes on, life in Western New York. And, who cares about these predictions? Ain't that important? But I would never pick the Bills to win. I can't do it no more with a straight face. Like, at least those years, I could, muster up a case where Miami might win. We had a somewhat talented roster. Well, the guys like Andrew Van Ginkel. We had Hill then. Obviously, now he's hurt. We had, an offensive line that with, guys like Hunt and guys like Armstead. You could, twist myself into a pretzel and come up 24-23. I can't even do that anymore. I can't even do that. So, yeah. I don't know, Tom. Long season.
It's a very long season.
Very long season. It's only November.
It's only going to continue through the beginning of January.
And I'll tell you this: if
hopefully we have some fun in the offseason.
Well, we're going to have fun because we're going to probably have I'll say we'll have a top 10 pick. It should be a top 5, but we'll probably screw that up. We're going to have a top 10 pick, and if they come out that after that Week 18 game versus the Patriots and say they're keeping McDaniel, this fan base is going to be so hot. This fan base is going to be so mad. And, if you go on social media, you see a lot of fans taking screenshots of when they've canceled their season tickets. Because once they beat Atlanta, that's when Miami sent out all the emails to renew. And a lot of fans who aren't renewing are taking screenshots showing the proof that they've canceled. And I get it. This stuff's expensive. I saw, some people with the Dolphins taking a victory lap. We didn't raise the prices. Well, good. You shouldn't. We want a pat in the back. So it's like, I get it though. Fans are frustrated. They invest time, they invest money. The time thing is, the money's the one thing, because everyone's financial situation is totally different. Okay, it's totally different. But the time, it's time for everyone. And whether it's a Sunday or Thursday night or a Monday night, to invest 3 hours, or to even in week to listen to shows like this, or whatever podcast you do listen to about the Dolphins, or just being on social media talking about the Dolphins. It's like you're giving up time, investing it in a team that essentially lets you down endlessly. And there does come a point where I often joke, Charlie Brown and Lucy, he goes to kick the ball, she pulls it away. You do that enough, one of these times, Charlie Brown going to stand up and go, "What up, bitch? I'm trying to kick the football. Why do you keep pulling it from me?" And that's what fans of the Dolphins are right now. They've had it up to here. And they just like, I'm done. And a lot of fans have checked out. And it's sad because I don't want to see them check out. As I often say, Tom, when we go down to Fan Club Weekend, that Saturday at Bowl Camp, there's a lot of good Dolphins fans. They're good people who, invest a lot of time and money and just want to see this team win. They're good fans. And they've been beaten down to the point where it's like this year, that crowd was far smaller. And I know it's one day, one sample size, but those are your diehards of your diehards that weekend. Those aren't your casual fans. Yep. Those are people flying in from out of the country, flying in from the West Coast, flying up from up north like us, from other parts of the country. They're flying in. And when those people, you've beaten them down to where they don't want to go to any events or even go to the games, that's when you know it's as bad as it's been. It wasn't this bad in 2019. It wasn't this bad in 2007. This is worse. This is worse. Dolphins fans are mad as hell. Look, Dolph Freaky. Love Dolph Freaky. That game versus Atlanta, she was going on that road game, had everything played. She don't miss nothing. She goes, screw it, I ain't going. She ain't going. I know some other people who are diehard fans. I don't want to say their names because I don't know if they want it out there. They're dying to unload their tickets for Sunday. Like, I don't want to go. And these are people that have your head spin if I told you who they're trying to unload their tickets. Like, really, them? Everyone knows them. People are fed up. They don't want to go. It's not fun. I mean, think about this. It's a 3-hour game, roughly. You got to leave, all depending, like hour and a half early. And then it's probably another hour or so home. That's like a 6-7 hour day. For what? To be miserable? Like, I get why people aren't going. It's not about the money. Trust me, if the team's winning, people will pay anything. It's not about the money. It's about the time. And they felt like this organization has wasted enough of their time, and they are done. And if the owner doesn't understand that, and he's going to keep Mike McDaniel for one more year, they keep Brett that day, but there's some people, I don't want to say who, well, they got a waiting list of people waiting to buy tickets. Let's see if they got a waiting list in January. I guarantee you they won't. Because there are going to be enough people cancel. Then you're going to go to the people on the waiting list like, I changed my mind, buddy. I ain't buying this. They're going to know that waiting list will evaporate in seconds. Because who's going to, if they're going to try and run this back with McDaniel and Tua next year, no fan in his right freaking mind is going to buy that load of bullshit and invest money and time. They're just going to be like, yeah, that ain't happening. And if they don't understand that, and by they, Ross, Tom Garfinkel, Silman, and the Ross children, if they don't understand that, then they are more tone deaf than I even think they are. They just got to go because you got to start fresh. And if you don't, you're signaling to your fan base, I don't care what you think. We're doing it this way. Good. Don't care what I think. Don't get my money. And that's what Dolphins fans are saying right now. A lot of them. A lot of them. It ain't just a couple.
Yeah. Continue to let your voices be heard if you go to the games. Because if you're spending money on the tickets and you can't sell them off, or you're traveling in, you made all these plans, you're going to the game, let your voices be heard. Don't go to the team store. Don't spend the money. Boo mercifully the football team while they're on the field when they play like garbage. And, at some point, the tone deaf has to act something. And, I'm not rooting for a lot. I never root for losses, especially against the Bills, for God's sakes. But it comes to a point where if the owner thinks that this is what they want to do with Steve, with Mike McDaniel, And they only traded Jalen Phillips, who's not a game changer, and they continue to lose the way they did, like say against Baltimore last Thursday, and they lose that way to Buffalo and to Washington on the international scale. He may not have a choice. I don't think he wanted to fire Chris Grier, which is why they mutually decided to part ways. You and I talked about it. He's going to be behind the scenes. He's going to be doing something. He's going to collect behind the scenes.
Per Hyde at the Sun Sentinel, Mr. David Hyde was the best. I guess apparently after the Ravens game, Ross went up to him and asked him, "What's the plan here for the next few days prior to the trade time from there on Tuesday?" And Grier told him, "I'm not making any calls. I'm waiting for people to call me." And that's when Ross said, "Well, that doesn't work for me, brother." And he pretty much let him go on Friday morning. So this pretty much happened real quick after the game on Thursday when Ross went up to Grier and asked him, "What's the plan between now and Tuesday?" And Chris Grier gave him this like, "Well, I'm not going to try and trade anybody. If I'll let them call me." And, Ross said, "Not working. See ya." So that's how that happened per Dave Hyde, I guess. Yeah, it's just, look, it is what it is, but this is as bad as it's been, and they got a window here that goes exactly till the Monday after week 18. That's where we're going to know if this organization is going to be in another 10 years of hell or if they're going to screw it up or if they will get it right. And again, if just because they fire McDaniel, again, they might hire the wrong GM and the wrong head coach again. I don't know, but at least there's hope that they might get it right. And there's reason to have optimism. They might get the hires right. If they run it back, I don't even care who the new GM is. I don't care because that head coach ain't good at his job. That quarterback ain't good at his job. And I understand the quarterback might have to be here one more year. So it's not even about him. I don't even want to talk about that. But if they run it back with that head coach, they are so dead, they don't even know it. Like, they are going to be irrelevant in the sports landscape in South Florida. They're going to be on the Marlins level. I know people say, well, they're an NFL team. That'll never happen. Watch. They will be irrelevant in South Florida. All right, let's get to the picks. I was 0-3 last week. Tom was 2-1. He's lapping me here this year. I'm 9-14. He's 14-9. So I'm going first. Here are my two locks. Give me Tampa Bay -2.5 over New England. I like the Patriots this year, but this fairy tale is going to hit a speed bump this week, and it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. I think Tampa Bay at home is damn good. I think they're coming off a bye. So give me Tampa -2.5 over New England. And the next one I think is like a mortal lock. Give me Carolina -5.5 over the Saints. The Saints are, again, they've waved the white flag. Carolina is actually pretty damn good. This is an organization going in the right direction. They have looked pretty damn good. I'll lay the 5.5 over a team that just doesn't care. So Tampa -2.5, Carolina -5.5. Those are my two locks. Tom, go.
I'm going to take we talked about it already. I'm taking Buffalo -9.5 against the Miami Dolphins at home for all the reasons we talked about earlier. I think that's an absolute lock. And my second lock, albeit maybe a little surprising, but with the news today and where the spread is located, it's hard to pass on it. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars -1.5 on the road against Houston. No CJ Stroud this week. Davis Mills is starting. It's going to be a low-scoring game, but I think Cam Little, who now holds the NFL record for the longest field goal, can give this team a field goal victory on the road against Houston. So give me Jacksonville -1.5.
Side note, did you see that Cam Little got called for drug testing on Monday? He was notified by the league. He had to
he posted it on social media.
Yeah. Come on. Look, first off, these field goals now, these guys are so good. They're hitting bombs from everywhere. So you can't be shocked that a guy hit one from 68. Wait a week or two, then call me. Don't make it so obvious. Jeez Louise. Next one, and this is a team I've sort of been unsure about most of this year as my upset. But they're kind of winning me over, and it kind of doesn't matter who the quarterback is. They just sort of find ways to win. And the team they're playing is pretty good, but I think it's a home dog, which I love. Give me San Francisco +4.5 over the Rams. I don't know. San Francisco, they find ways to, sometimes you just got to find ways to win. And I think San Francisco is kind of handling their business this year for the most part. It's 6-3. The Rams are 6-2. San Francisco's got, waiting on one quarterback. Mac Jones hasn't played bad. They lose this guy. They lose that guy. Down some edge rushers. It doesn't seem to matter. They just find ways to win. So plus 4.5 at home. Even if they lose by 3, I win. That's my upset. Who's your upset?
My upset, it's weird to say it's an upset, but I've got the Eagles plus 2.5 on the road against the Packers.
Almost took that one too. Yeah.
Like you're giving me 2.5 for the defending Super Bowl champions against a team that looked like absolute garbage at home last week against, of all teams, the Carolina Panthers, who were struggling to get out of their own way. The Packers just continued to give them the game. Jordan Love had an awful game last week, and going against a very physical Philadelphia Eagles defense. So, hey, this one's for you, Jalen Phillips. Give me the Eagles plus 2.5 on the road against the Pack.
Yeah, that game scares me just because I don't know which team for the Packers you're going to get week to week. And they cost me a parlay loss. They cost me a parlay last week because I didn't think they'd ever lose at home to Carolina. And they didn't even show up. They didn't even show up in that game. Tyrod played start to finish. But then I'm thinking, well, they look past them because they're probably looking ahead to this game versus the Eagles and watch them show up and play great this week. I don't know. I can't trust the Packers. I don't know which team you're going to get. That's why I almost took that one and I went with San Fran instead. Although San Fran does have some injuries of their own. But yeah, if you're going to bet the NFL, which I really don't, like I bet heavy on Saturday. Sunday, I might put like one small bet or maybe one small little parlay. That's it. I don't bet the NFL heavily because you cannot get a read on. The Carolina Panthers, outside of the loss recently versus the Bills, they've been damn good. You don't know what you're going to get at any team like the Bills, who were on a little bit of a losing streak here about like a month ago, which no one saw coming. Then you get a team like the Packers, what they've done. And then you get a team like Philadelphia. They travel to play the Giants with a rookie quarterback. They lose. Like betting the NFL, it's really throwing darts. There's not – you can do all the homework in the world, something weird's going to happen and you're going to lose. Even this week, Cleveland versus the Jets. All signs point to Cleveland winning. Who's left on the Jets? Watch the Jets win at home. Seriously, like watch them win at home. It's like you can't get a feel on any of these teams. It's so tough. Oh, we have a longtime listener here. He says he lost a box of ziti when Jacksonville beat KC. That's my saying, lose a box of ziti. If you know, you know. I'm not going to explain it. I've said that on this show for years. If you understand that lingo, then you're a diehard fan of Dolphins talk. I'll tell you that. But yeah, those are the picks. Hopefully I do better than 0-3 this week. Lord knows I can't do any worse. Yeah, that's all for today's show. Special thanks for Jesus to make an appearance. I always love when he can find a few minutes to pop on. Yeah, we'll be back. Oh, real quick. I should have said this at the top. I want to give a shout out to Marissa Marino, feeling a little bit under the weather. You probably won't see you won't see her this week with an interview. Just want to shout out, say we're thinking about her. Hope she feels better soon. And yeah, we'll have, so what's today? Today's Wednesday. Thursday, Josh and Aaron will have a show. Friday, I'll talk to Doug, see if we can find time to do something. We'll see if we can get a show together there. Then Saturday night, we got, it's not a skit, folks. That was really Jesus. People say the Jesus skit was great. What skit? That's him. I don't know what you're talking about.
Jesus.
Come on. I booked him. You know how tough it is to book that guy? He is busy. So then Saturday we got Eric and Robert Burns with the pregame show, which usually drops Saturday night into Sunday morning. And then after the game Sunday, myself and Tom with the post-game wrap-up show. Follow Tom on social media at DolphinsTalk Tom. Follow myself at DolphinsTalk. We got a ton of great written work and stuff up on the website at DolphinsTalk.com. And as I wrap up, once again, I do want to say I'm sorry again to Dan Marino. We ran out of time. You're going to have to get bumped. I'll try to have you on the show tomorrow or the next show I do. Sorry, just ran out of time. You got bumped, Dan. I'm just sorry. It's been a packed show. Everyone, take care of yourselves. Oh, that's Josh's sign off. I can't say that. Everyone, have a great night. And when you're on the road, please be sure to remember we have to put an end to highway profanity.
Fins up.